call, enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi, stay tuned. Tonight, the minority in Parliament is accusing the majority of intentionally disrupting the Public Accounts Committee sitting, which was probing the reported 68 billion Ghana cedi government arrears. The committee's chairperson, Appiah Asari, described the majority's action as a major disruption to a critical national assignment, forcing the suspension of proceedings and stalling scrutiny of issues raised in the Auditor-General's report. The incident occurred when Majority Chief Whip Roxanne Appiah walked in and excused majority members to attend to urgent government business on the floor of the House. Appiah Asari, who is the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee, expressed concern that the interruption could affect the committee's ability to meet its deadline.
I must say that when Ghanaians give you an opportunity in a very special way, I say in a very special way, looking at the majority of seats that Ghanaians have given to the NDC, you don't abuse it. I see this clearly as an abuse of their majority. Why do I say so? I thought there was an urgent government business on the floor. We closed from the Public Accounts Committee, and then we went to the chamber, and sitting hadn't even begun. We went to the chamber thinking there was an urgent government business on the floor of Parliament. Sitting hadn't begun. Eventually, when sitting began, we began with statements. Statements are important. But are they so important that we have invited people from various ministries, departments, and agencies, they are waiting for their turn to explain their side of the audit. But then we had to ask them to leave because we didn't have the quorum to continue with business. Only for us to come to the floor of Parliament and see that one, sitting hadn't even begun, and two, when sitting began, it was statements and not urgent government business. This is how the majority is abusing the trust that Ghanaians have imposed in them. We will come back and continue with this way because we see it as a national assignment that we ought to take and bring back the confidence that our people have in the public financial management of our finances. Like I said, this is not the first time an issue like this has happened in terms of government validating arrears. In 2016, when we inherited power in 2017, we also did say there was an arrears of about 11.8 billion. We sent all the documentation to the auditors to verify. The auditors verified 6.3 and rejected 5.4 billion. So clearly, it should tell you that this issue is structural and we need to get to the root of it. And that is what we began this morning.
Right.
And we hope we won't be given the chance to interrogate things further and see how best we, together as parliamentarians, can bring some lasting solutions to these structural changes. Whenever there's a new government, you tend to have some of these things. And I didn't mention that 2 companies that were mentioned or cited for infractions in the 2016 report have also been mentioned again in the 2024 report. So it is a serious issue, and we need to come together to make sure we address some of these things. So we have decided to reschedule to next week, Monday, when Parliament will be on recess, and then we will start from Monday and end on Thursday. We will also have to write to Mr. Speaker and inform him that the 3 weeks deadline is not feasible based on what has happened today.
That's Appiah Asari. She's the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee. We've also been hearing from the majority who have denied any attempt to undermine the process, citing scheduling pressures and a prior agreement to pause committee sittings to allow MPs to focus on plenary business. We can now listen to the Majority Chief Whip Roxanne Nelson Appiah explain why he had to recall the majority members from the committee sitting.
The impression that we are not interested in the committee's work is not accurate. We met yesterday and took a decision that because of the heavy nature of business for plenary, committee activities should be suspended till Friday, so that after Friday, the committees can sit. Indeed, we even suggested that after adjournment, the committees can work. Or alternatively, if the committees can sit from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., because plenary starts from 10, then those options were open. But if you fix committee activities that clashes with plenary, the time for plenary, it's hurting our numbers, because they are the same people who may raise issues of quorum. So, please. So, Mr. Speaker, the Public Accounts Committee, by all means, have the time to do their work. And they have a time frame within which to present the reports back to plenary. And that has not been affected in any way.
Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekwa is the Majority Chief Whip. Kweku Asante is our resident correspondent in Parliament. He's joining me right now for more on this. Kweku, what's the latest from this impasse?
Then Parliament has been on break for nearly 3 hours now. I would have thought that given that the Majority Chief Whip's argument was that there were a couple of very important business that would be done on the floor, Parliament will be perhaps sitting now dealing with those urgent business. But right after he whisked his members from the committee into the chamber, they moved on to do some statements. They then went on to approve the value for money bill. But since then, there's been nothing. In fact, the Speaker of Parliament suspended proceedings for 1 hour. It's a little close to 3 hours now. The House is not sitting. Obviously, Public Accounts Committee is also not sitting. We've been trying to get some answers from the leadership. What exactly was the kind of urgent business that you wanted to do on the floor, for which reason just 8 members of the majority side on the Public Accounts Committee had to be whisked to come to the floor of Parliament to do the so-called urgent business? We haven't gotten answers as we speak, but also there are those who are questioning whether or not the majority are actually very confident in the kind of data that the Finance Ministry brought to the floor that prompted this investigation. All of that, no answers given yet. But Ken, it's close to 3 hours now. Proceed to suspend sitting for an hour, close to 3 hours back, and the urgent business that was expected to be done has also been transacted.
And Kweku, do we have any idea when this urgent business is going to be transacted?
Well, we have no idea. We do not also know what the urgent business is. Of course, Parliament has considered a couple of business that generally will not be considered urgent. For instance, statements, generally not urgent, but there was a very important which was approved about 3 hours ago. That is quite important because sometimes, without the numbers on the floor, the minority will always raise an issue of quorum, and so the government side will always want to bring their numbers to preempt the minority doing so. And so when the House resumes perhaps in the next hour or so, we'll get an indication of what exactly the urgent business to be transacted is. But again, a leader that I've been speaking to on the minority side telling me that the majority side, they have 189. They can dispense of 80 members to sit at the Public Accounts Committee to do that very important matter having to do with the audit report, and still have enough MPs on the floor to transact whatever urgent business. But also that I've been throwing to the majority leadership, no answers as of yet.
Kweku Asante there. Thank you very much, our resident correspondent from Parliament, bringing us update as to what transpired in the House earlier. Let's bring in Dr. Rashid Dramani. He's the Executive Director at African Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Dr. Dramani, welcome to the program. From a parliamentary governance perspective, how damaging is it when a PAC sitting is suspended due to political disagreements like what we saw today? Do I have Dr. Dramani with me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please, can you repeat the question? I didn't hear a question.
Right. I was trying to find out from you, how damaging is it when a PAC sitting is suspended due to political disagreements like what we witnessed earlier today?
Well, I mean, let me say, I was out of the country, so I'm not very well seized with exactly what happened in Parliament today. But let me just say, I heard from your correspondent about the fact that a number of the members from the majority were withdrawn from the committee, which led to the sitting of the committee being suspended. First of all, I think that there is a problem that Parliament needs to fix. This is not right. It presupposes that the processes for scheduling the work of Parliament, is not being done properly. That's number one. Because it should be clear that the PAC is sitting, and also there is a time for plenary. If somehow there's a clash between the sitting of a committee and the plenary, that means that somebody has not done their work. Secondly, I think the much broader issue is what I have been saying all the time. When we raise questions about the fact that there's a lot of absenteeism on the floor of the House, sometimes the argument and the excuse is the fact that committees are sitting, and that is what results in the low numbers that we see on the floor of the House. In most parliaments, what they do in order to avoid these kinds of situations, because most of the time we see the plenary on our screens at home, and then we follow on radio and so on. But committee work, most of the time we don't. So in most countries, they ensure that there is time for committee sittings, and then there is time for plenary. Those things don't clash. Those two processes don't clash. And I think the earlier our parliament adopted that kind of approach, I think the better for its own image.
Right.
Otherwise, what situations like this tell us is that there is more to it than just the explanations that have been provided.
Right. Dr. Dramani, don't go yet. Let me bring in Roxanne Nelson Dafiamakpo. He's the Majority Chief Whip and also MP for South Dai. Grateful for your time this evening. If there was truly a prior agreement to suspend sittings, why is the committee chairperson, Abuna Osayasari, insisting the disruption was, or the interruption was a disruption?
First of all, there was nothing like disruption. So this is how things are done in Parliament. Every week, on every Friday, if it's not a public holiday, the Business Committee, in pursuance of Order 216, Rules 1, 2, A, B, and C, set out the business for the ensuing week. So every member of Parliament is told the nature and the mode that businesses will be conducted, including time of sitting. So if you may, as you may be aware, we have been sitting in the afternoon for the past 1 month or so. Sittings will begin at 2 p.m. and then we'll conduct business until such time that the House deems fit to adjourn. But last week we decided that this week being the last week prior to adjournment, we will shift sitting from 2 p.m. to 10 a.m., which will enable us to do more within the day. So as of last Thursday, which was the last day of last week because of the Gala festivals and all that, every committee was told when sitting will start this week, which was to commence at 10 a.m. So if a committee leader decides to fix committee meetings at 9 a.m., then you have just about 1 hour to consider the committee business. So that when it is 10 a.m., it doesn't clash with it doesn't clash with the time of sitting at plenary. So if you take the order paper for yesterday, 3 committees on rules and transport, committee on assurances, the foreign affairs and regional integration committees, they met. When they were in session, these are committees of about 18 or 22 member committees. And because of the huge proportion that we have, we dominate these committees by way of numbers. So if you have an 18-member committee, we dominate it by 13 members. So if you have 3 18-member committees sitting, that is 54. And out of the 54, it means that as many as 39 of those 54 members are of the majority side. 13 times 3, that's 39.
Okay.
Now, we indicated yesterday when they read, for instance, quorum, we said, there were 3 committees meeting, so it's not as if we are not in the house, but we are populated at committee work.
Mm-hmm.
They won't take it. So we said, okay, for today, tomorrow, and Friday, we should suspend all committee work so that we can all focus on the business of the day at plenary. In any event, if any committee meet, they could do so after adjournment. Or they could meet from, say, 8 a.m. to, say, 10 a.m. Because when it's exactly 10 a.m., members at committee meetings, they need only 5 minutes to move from committee rooms to get to the chamber. So time really will not be a problem. But if you have a committee chairperson who decides to fix committee meeting at 11 a.m., 1 hour into time of sitting, then it conflicts with plenary. So we didn't withdraw our members. We only said that we are asking committee meetings to be suspended. Even the House itself suspends its activities sometimes to go into conclave or things like that. So any information out there that majority members were withdrawn from committee work today cannot be accurate.
Right.
We only ask that they should suspend the work. Maybe they must have worked for like an hour. You suspend the work, we come to plenary, we work and deal with the major business of the day. When we adjourn, or as we speak, we have suspended the House. So committees could also go back and work quickly. So these things are not cast in stone. It's just that we need to have some consensus on these matters. But otherwise, there are very orderly way of organizing things and advertising committee meetings and picking time for committee meetings, which are also every day advertised.
Right. Mr. Appiah, there's been a lot of reaction since this incident happened, and some critics are saying that the majority's action creates a dangerous precedent where a work can effectively collapse oversight sittings. How do you respond to concerns that this could be abused in future? What happened today?
I am in my 10th year in this parliament. I have been in the 7th parliament, I have been in the 8th parliament, I have been in the 9th. This is the 9th parliament. Committee work have always been suspended to go and deal with business on the floor, and the members will return to continue at committee levels. So what happened today is not strange.
Right.
It's not as if it's never happened before. In fact, yesterday, when they raised the issue of quorum, we suspended all committee sittings, all the 3 committee sittings, transport, foreign affairs, and government assurance. They were suspended. And then we all came to plenary. So why didn't they raise any issue yesterday? Only for the Public Accounts Committee chairperson to be saying a different thing today. In any case, the business that you have, you cannot complete it by Friday. There's no way you can finish considering the referral by Friday. So what is this insistence that if I don't work today, willy-nilly, then it means my power to exercise oversight is being hampered.
Mr. Appiah,
so that is propaganda.
Don't go yet. I'll come back to you. Dr. Rashid Dramani, who's the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, is still with me. and listening to the majority chief whip explain himself. Does this suffice?
Well, yes. I think that, as I was saying, I now clearly get the picture. In any case, I think the work of the plenary, I believe in most parliaments, takes precedence over the work of any committee. And certainly, if there was agreement that, for the sake of the business of the House, all committee meetings be suspended. I agree that there's no committee of the House that can go against what has been agreed upon.
With the sitting now rescheduled, Roxanne Nelson Dafiakpo to a later date, many are raising concerns that it could affect the work of the Public Accounts Committee. Is that a sentiment you share?
Not at all. They have been sitting on the matter before now, and so they are going to continue tomorrow. The only difference of what will happen tomorrow is that they will change the time of the day of sitting from 9 a.m. to 8 a.m. so that they can clock like 2 hours before plenary kicks in. So all this issue is just about timing. It's just about timing.
Right.
Oversized powers mandate is not frustrated, is not adversely affected. Any such suggestion must be disregarded because that cannot be accurate.
Right. And the final one, the minority argued that stopping the sitting while the 68 billion cedi arrears were being examined create perceptions of shielding government. How do you respond to that concern?
They said what?
They say that the stopping of the sitting while the 68 billion cedi arrears were being examined creates the perception of trying to shield government.
Is government the people who have been cited in the audit report? Is it government? Is the referral in consideration of what government has done or what public officers have done? So, again, if this attempt to make a storm out of a teacup in this matter is not for mischievous purposes, I don't know what it is. Because clearly what's happening is absolutely inconsequential. It's happened. So we've suspended committee sittings many times just so that plenary can convene and work. I'm really scratching my mind to say, where is this coming from? How is this being made an issue at all? It's not this good.
Right, thank you very much. Roxanne Nelson Dafiakpo is the Majority Chief Whip and MP for South Dai. We also heard earlier from Dr. Rashid Dramani, who is the Executive Director at the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. We tried to connect with the minority side of the House, but we were unsuccessful. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel and Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Up next is Newsnight.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter, Angela. Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop,
hello, sir. Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones, we keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Keep on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining in my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me da na ma da with holy insecticide spray.
Holy Mosquito Quell Holy Multi-Purpose Insecticide Spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Kakweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Tema near Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, good evening and welcome to News Night. Coming up tonight, landslide victory for Ghana as United Nations adopts resolution to recognize the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity.
The result of the vote is as follows. In favor, 123, against 3, abstentions 52. Therefore, draft resolution A/80/L48 is adopted.
Is a critical first step towards redressing the injustices perpetuated over the 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade.
We have details as US, Israel and Argentina vote against resolution and 52 other countries abstaining.
Also tonight, government is pushing ahead with plans to revive road tolls over a year after the policy was supposed to kick in.
Because for more than a year, we've been trying to procure a concessionaire through an open tender process. So you are certain that this year tolls will return? Sure.
Also, government makes a dent in road debt, clearing 11 billion cedis, but a whopping 29 billion cedis in arrears still looms large, threatening sector recovery.
Government has paid in excess of 11 billion cedis out of the 40-year arrears, which is the biggest ever payment at a particular time to road contractors in our history. It means that we say, oh, a lot. At least we should say.
We have details as Roads Minister reviews banks are now chasing road contractors in sector turnaround as big push sparks renewed confidence.
In business,
Star Oil signals intention of not ending the current price war anytime soon as it cuts the price of petrol again to 12 Ghana cedis, 19 pesos per litre.
In sports,
Senegal officially files appeal at CAS over CAF decision to strip them of AFCON 2025 title.
And a bit later, NIMO sounds a serious alarm over the increasing number of miners engaged in illegal mining activities, describing the development as deeply worrying.
There are minors in the space, and that is a concern. So we've relayed to appropriate authorities, social welfare, and through the ministry to see how they handle it. We have the details.
The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. You can be a part of this show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Details shortly.
Tonight, a major diplomatic win for Ghana as the United Nations adopts a resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity. More than 120 countries voted in favor, despite opposition from the United States, Israel, and Argentina, with 52 abstentions. The Ghana-led resolution also urges countries to consider apologies and reparations, noting the lasting impact of slavery on people of African descent. Head of Joy News Research, Kofi Ejay, joins me in studio with how the votes went. Kofi, tell us who voted and how did they vote?
Well, Gemma, so we had 178 countries expected to vote in this exercise. 3 actually decided to vote against this motion. 52 decided to abstain, and you had 123 voting in favor of Ghana's motion. And you made a right call there in terms of the countries that decided to vote against this particular, motion or issue. Argentina, Israel, and the US decided to vote against. If you look at those who decided to abstain, you can find, 3 former colonial masters, countries, Denmark, Germany, and UK, all decided to abstain. In terms of calling this a landslide victory, Ghana's, 123 vote for in terms of the motion is around 69.1%.
Thank you very much, Kofi Ejay, with details of the vote.
Right. We can now listen to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. We know that a lot of slaves were sent to that particular part of the world. These were some of the comments their reps made after the resolution was passed.
The result of the vote is as follows. In favor, 123. Against, 3. Abstentions, 52. Therefore, draft resolution A/80/L48 is adopted. Before giving the floor for explanations of vote after the vote, may I remind delegations that they are strongly urged to limit explanations of vote to 5 minutes, which should in any case not exceed 10 minutes and be made from their seats. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, in explanation of our vote. CARICOM voted in support of this resolution because of our historical attachment to the issue of the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the racialized chattel enslavement of Africans. The recognition today by those member states that supported this resolution and the declaration is a critical first step towards redressing the injustices perpetuated over the 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade. In this vein, CARICOM remains a strong advocate for the advancement of reparatory justice for the historical atrocities perpetuated against our forebears during the period of colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the persistent legacies thereof. CARICOM therefore reiterates our support in principle for this initiative undertaken by Ghana on behalf of the African Union to advance the issue of reparatory justice. Given the importance of this issue, CARICOM stresses that implementation of the resolution must be done in a collaborative manner and in full partnership with the entire membership. CARICOM commits to contributing to taking forward the implementation of this resolution in line with the region's priorities, including the 10-point plan for reparatory justice. We will continue to engage meaningfully in future discussions on this important issue, including on ways to take forward the important provisions contained in the resolution. I thank you, Chair.
That's the representative from Trinidad and Tobago at the UN headquarters. We've also been hearing from the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which was part of over 50 countries that abstained from it. These were the reasons they gave.
The Kingdom of the Netherlands remains firmly committed to addressing racism and discrimination. We share the importance that the African group attaches to the lasting consequences of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. We fully recognize the profound injustice of this history and its continued impact today. In December 2022, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of the Netherlands offered formal apologies for the actions of the Dutch state towards enslaved people in the past, who suffered as a consequence of those actions everywhere in the world, as well as to all their descendants up to the present day. In July 2023, His Majesty King Willem-Alexander apologized for the Netherlands' slavery past. As a member of the European Union, we engage constructively in the negotiations on this resolution, and we greatly appreciate the efforts by Ghana and the African Union to bring forward this important initiative. In this vein, I would like to also say that we align ourselves with the statement delivered by the EU, and we sincerely regret that no consensus could be reached on a formulation that addresses key legal and substantive concerns. Having said that, the Kingdom of the Netherlands cannot support references that suggest the retroactive application of international law, including the implication of a legal obligation to provide reparations for acts that were not a violation of international law at the time they were committed. We also cannot agree to the introduction of a hierarchy among crimes against humanity, including the designation of one as the gravest, nor to references related to the non-applicability of statutory limitations.
That's the representative from the Kingdom of the Netherlands making the argument as to why they abstained from that particular vote. Let's go onto the telephone lines right now and bring in Mahmoud Kamara, who's the founder of Reform Initiatives and member of the Global Group of Experts on Reparations. Welcome to the program. What do you make of the latest resolution that has been passed by the United Nations?
Yes, thank you very much for having me, and I'm really happy that we are having this conversation at a time when Ghana is once again showing leadership at the global stage for issues around justice, equity, and African dignity. As a member of the Global Group of Experts on Reparations, we are quite excited by the outcome of those votes. It is the result of years of advocacy, started primarily by civil society actors and then supported by the political leadership of the government of Ghana. So we're really pleased that we got this vote, and it's not just any type of vote. It is a resounding majority, which shows that member states from the global majority align with the position that Ghana has taken with the full backing of the African Union and CARICOM states. So we're really excited, and we know that the work begins now for the continuation of the advocacy for reparations and healing.
About 3 countries voted against: the United States, Israel, and Argentina. And the representative from the Netherlands said that they cannot be responsible for paying for something that was not against international law as at the time it was happening. Is that the case? Was it not against international law, transatlantic slave trade?
Well, it has always been a crime, and the world knows that the chattel enslavement of Africans and trafficking of Africans has always been a crime. And as part of the AU's position, we believe that a crime does not rot until it is repaired. We also believe that international law does not necessarily absolve the crime of trafficking and enslavement, because there was no codification of those laws before. African leaders, African societies at the time resisted and mitigated against this very act, because it was just against the very principle of humanity. So it has always been a crime. We cannot now use the very laws or international norms that were created by the very perpetrators themselves to justify the timing of when these crimes should come into effect. So as far as we are concerned, that position is flawed, it is false, and it does not hold.
Right, thank you very much. Mahmoud Kamara is the founder of Reform Initiatives and a member of the Global Group of Experts on Reparations. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, 3 nations voted against it: the United States, Israel, and Argentina. Let's listen to the argument that was made by the U.S.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The United States remains steadfast in its opposition and condemnation of historic wrongs that resulted from the transatlantic slave trade, the trans-Saharan slave trade, and all other forms of slavery. We remain committed to the acknowledgement that these historical wrongs. Despite this, the United States observes that the text of this resolution remains highly problematic in countless respects. Consequently, the United States cannot support the adoption of this resolution. We regret that the United States must once again remind this body that the United Nations exists to maintain international peace and security. It was not founded to advance narrow, specific interests and agendas, to establish niche international days, or to create new costly meeting and reporting mandates. This resolution does all 3. The United States has defined long-standing objectives to the framing of reparatory justice and the duty of reparation for historical wrongs. While we acknowledge the horrors of the past, we do not accept this resolution's assertion that historical facts from the 15th through 19th century constitute violations of jus cogens, as the term is understood in contemporary international law. The United States also does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred.
That's the United States representative at the United Nations. The U.S. was one of only 3 countries that voted against this resolution.
But Ken, let's now hear from Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who addressed the press after the resolution was passed.
Surprising, because we have, in this resolution, talked about frameworks which will put in place that will take care of the consequences. We all know that the consequences of the transatlantic slave trade has been the lack of opportunity, discrimination, the degradation of people of color. So we have said, let's have frameworks that will serve as endowment funds to support education, to support empowerment, to support skills training, capital for entrepreneurs, and all of that. And we have made clear that African leaders or Caribbean leaders are not looking for money. It goes against our conscience to seek to profit from this. We don't want any payments made to us directly. We are talking about courses to deal with the structural inequalities. And we are also talking about the return of artifacts to the continent. It's all in the resolution.
Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. Get ready for a hit to your wallet. The government is pushing ahead with plans to revive road tolls over a year after they were supposed to return. Tolls were scrapped by the previous government, but now the Mahama government is determined to bring them back, citing infrastructure funding needs. The minority earlier this week criticized the delay. MP for Akim Swedro and ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament, Kenneth, accused government of paying lip service. We apologize for that, but Roads Minister Kwame Abuja-Gavin says the rollout has only been delayed and assures tolls will return before the end of the year.
An example, the road toll, you know that it received general acceptance and bring it back. I keep getting comments from people, including very good comment from my colleagues from the other side. We've given you our support to bring the road toll. Why are you not bringing it back? Because for more than a year, we've been trying to procure a concessionaire through an open tender process.
So that's why that has, because that was one of my questions.
Exactly.
Because you promised you're going to bring it back.
Exactly.
It's still not back.
It's not because
you're going to the procurement.
Exactly.
It's open competitive tender.
Exactly. And the difficulty about that process is that, I know it's law. When you even get to a point and somebody, a bidder, decide that I'm not satisfied with something, I need extra time, by law, depending on what it is, you are supposed to stop the process, provide that information to him or her, and allow 2 weeks or whatever time the law says for him to go and consume it and bring it back. And that is what we've been doing back and forth.
So knowing what you know now, when do you now hope that the tolls will come back?
I am sure by within a week we should be able to, because we've gone through this over a year and it's good. We've gone through, but this one it was cancelled. Nobody's done it, but the roads are in a very terrible situation, so we can afford the time to deal with this one.
So you are setting that this year tolls will return?
Sure. We should deploy the first few tolling points across the country before the end of the year.
He also clarified that the tolls would only be introduced on roads that have been improved. Let's get to the phone line now and speak to Samuel Amwa. He is the deputy spokesperson for the GPRTU. He's on for us. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. Are you happy with the concern of what has been raised by the minister that tolls are coming back? Hello, Samuel.
No, it's not a Samuel on the line. This is Stephen Atachi on the line.
Well, we do not have Samuel Amwa on the line. We apologize for that. But we'll be speaking to the MP for Akim Swedro and ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament, Kenneth Nyakon, for that. Samuel Amwa, the deputy PRO for the GPRTU, is on the line to us. Welcome to Newsnight.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening to you.
I want to take your reaction to what the roads minister said, that tolls are coming back finally.
All right, so thank you very much once again. Good evening to you and whoever is listening to you. Yes, we have this information that definitely they are going to bring back the toll system. And we will not speak against it, because if you check all over the world, tolls are being implemented, and when you go to most of the advanced countries, they have been taking road tolls. And when they stop taking the tolls, we didn't complain about that. It took us unaware. Our challenge was the way we do create road traffic congestion, and then when they take the money and there's no proper accountability, they don't use the money to do what we are expecting them to do and all that. That is what we were talking against. So if they say they are bringing it back, all that we are looking forward is, number one, to make sure that there will be proper accountability, making sure that the money we pay, they will use, to fix our roads for us. And then also it will not create, or it will not cause any traffic congestions, at the toll areas. We were told that they are going to digitalize, the whole system, and it will not be like the previous one that, an attendant to be in the booth for drivers to queue before the toll and all that. So it's welcome. it will serve the purpose in which they want to bring it. I think that is what we can say.
So for the drivers, you are ready to pay the tolls when it's reintroduced?
Yes, we are ready. We are ready to pay. But we also saying that as they are bringing it, they shouldn't, take it too high. Previously we were paying 1 Ghana cedi, 2 Ghana cedis and stuff. We don't know how much we are going to pay now. But bringing back the toll, we can't kick against it. But as I said earlier, it must serve our purpose, and at the same time, they shouldn't, take too much from us.
Samuel, Kenneth here. I want to find out from you, is this likely to affect transport fares if these toll monies that are paid are eventually reintroduced?
The line is breaking.
I'm saying that if the toll is brought back as we are being told, would it likely affect transport fares?
All right. So I can't say it will affect transport fares. As I stated earlier, we don't know how much they are going to, take from us. And already we have been facing fuel hikes. Petrol product is high now. We do complain about high cost of spare parts and all that. So if they are bringing it and it's not at the higher side, I don't think it will affect, transport fares, except that maybe it goes, to extend that, drivers cannot contain it and maybe we have to do something about it. But I don't think bringing the toll will affect a transport fare.
Thank you very much. Samuel Amwa is the Deputy PRO for the GPRTU.
Let's stay a while on roads because the Sector Minister Kwame Gavins Agbuja has disclosed that government has made what he describes as the single largest repayment of road sector arrears in Ghana's history, settling over 11 billion Ghana cedis owed to road contractors, while acknowledging that nearly 40 billion cedis in debt still remains outstanding. Speaking on PM Express on Tuesday, the minister said the 11 billion cedis paid covers legal debts inherited from previous administrations, stressing that the decision to honor those obligations reflects a commitment of national development rather than partisan considerations.
So what we are doing now is to try as much as possible to retire the indebtedness to contractors, the arrears. As of last week, government has paid in excess of 11 billion cedis out of the 40-year. Yes, which is the biggest ever payment at a particular time to road contractors in our history. With 11 billion cedis from 40 years. Exactly. And each and every one of those projects were projects awarded by the previous government. That is the difference between President Mahama and others. Somebody would have said, why are you spending this money? Why did they award it? Wait and pay the money to the contractors you awarded. But he's been the president before. He knows that he never helped us. The road awarded by the previous government to my village is not about them. It's about the country. So we should all grow out of that. So he said, pay everybody. So 11 billion has been paid so far. It means that we say, a lot. At least we should say, at least 39 billion if you exactly 40 billion. Exactly. But don't forget that at the close of 2024, we were not paying anything much about that. It was still there growing. But this is the time we made the bigger dent on our arrears. So that is the status of the arrears now.
Joining us on the phone line now is Stephen Kweku Atachi. He is the National Chairman of the Association of Road Contractors. Thank you so much for joining us on News 9. Now, the Roads Minister says 11 billion cedis has been cleared, the debt. How true is that?
Thank you very much. And greetings to all your cherished listeners. We have about the 3-4 areas which a payment comes from. GOG, which comes from, the Ministry of Finance. Then we have Road Maintenance Trust Fund. Then we have Cocoa Rose. The product also comes from there. So if the sector minister is saying that they pay that money, yes, it is true they pay that particular reason for all the areas I've mentioned. And however, there is some these small SMC. They also the road trust fund has also paid a lot, So the payment is going on. Yeah, thank you.
And how much is left?
I won't be in a position now to give you the figure, because if you would have let me notify me earlier, then I can do that. But what the minister said, that is the debt remaining to be paid.
So, Mr. Atachi, the roads minister also revealed that now banks are actively pursuing contractors, including you, because you're working on the big push infrastructure program and also the turnaround in the road sector. Can you confirm this for us?
Oh yeah, it's very true. Day in, day out, the system becomes very, very, very attractive to the banks. The previous, government, even if you go to the bank, say you are a contractor, they will never, mind you. But today, every day, the banks are chasing us now, as it was. So it's really true that the banks are very attracted by the way the ministry is handled the road sector now.
This helping the members of your association and the business that you ply?
Oh yes, you see, the whole thing is that for quite a long time, as the minister has said, from the first quarter, the money they paid to the contractors never paid like that before. Okay, so the pressure has come down now because some of them were paid, so the pressure is coming down small. And if God permits, from April going, which is the second quarter, the sense to cover the whole country.
Thank you very much, National Chairman of the Association of Road Contractors, Stephen Kweku Atachi.
Let's talk about Galamsey tonight, because the Director of Operations of NIMAS, Dominic Boa, has sounded alarm over the increasing number of miners involved in the illegal mining menace, describing it as a troubling trend. Speaking at the NIMAS Editors Forum and quarterly press briefing in Accra, Colonel Boa revealed that authorities have identified children actively engaged in Galamsey, stressing the urgent need for intervention.
One phenomenon we observed is the issue of children in the space. There are minors in the space, and that is a concern. So we've relayed to appropriate authorities, social welfare, through the ministry to see how they handle it. We have the details where we got them, and it's a trend. These are not the only ones, but the ones we laid hands on. Then also some of the high-profile Galamseyers who are arrested, we have details of them.
He also disclosed that the task force has seized more than 90 excavators and arrested over 200 individuals, mostly foreign nationals.
So far seized, secured in our location, almost 3,000 chamfans destroyed. Those ones, I don't count them. Arrest, you have 237, majority of them are foreigners. Then you have seen strike rate of 87.7. The strike rate is the Directorate of Research, that's what they do. Anytime we move to the field and we meet one of the key parameters, the things we do, the seizures, the arrest, and the distraction, we count it as a positive. So that determines the strike rate. Now, you've seen immobilized excavators. In a field, when we go, we don't have low beds. What we can do is to just immobilize and remove vital components so that they cannot use them. And I must tell you that in the Galamsey site, excavator is gone down drastically. We used to meet 10, 20 excavators, but now you hardly meet any of them. The ones you meet there, they are already immobilized.
My colleague Fatal Bayaga was at the media briefing and now joins us in studio with more. Fatal, NIMOS also raised concerns over foreigners, particularly Chinese nationals, dominating in the illegal mining activities. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely, Gemma. So NIMOS says that many of the people that they've arrested so far are, majority of them are Chinese nationals, and they mostly come to Ghana. They work closely with their Ghanaian counterparts, and that leads to the ravaging of forest reserves and lands in this country. In fact, he says that the Chinese ambassador to Ghana himself is quite alarmed by the number of Chinese nationals involved in this. We can listen to him.
I must say that the Chinese ambassador is also alarmed at the rate at which the Chinese, they don't pass through his hands. And there is a network or a cabal that traffic these Chinese who come. Sometimes they don't even know Accra. They get visa to stay and straight they are sent to the bush. And that is our own citizens who collaborate with them. So we need to watch that space, because these are the people who are destroying our forest, our water bodies. Then I think at Osino also, one night, 32 Nigerians will gloss over the security risk, but that is a huge risk. In collaboration with the national security, we are trying to identify the status of these whenever we arrest them. There's a protocol for the foreigners. They are processed through NIMOS and then to immigration, where the enforcement unit handle them accordingly. Some of them go through the trial process, but majority of them, where we don't have enough facts on them, through the Chinese embassy, they are deported. And I'm told that once they are deported, formally, they are blacklisted and they don't get to come back.
Let's bring in Pakwesi Shandorf. He's a spokesperson for NIMOS. Pakwesi, welcome to the program. You've been listening to the Director of Operations of NIMOS, who says that many children are now involved in illegal mining. Based on your records, how many children have been rescued so far? Hello, Pakwesi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, and Kenneth. So that particular detail, I'm saying it's a figure that would put out in due course. First of all, because of the sensitive nature of some of the involvement of these children. Then again, we have also engaged social welfare and the relevant stakeholders to handle that particular situation. But it is indeed an issue that we have been confronted with, that will put out the appropriate numbers in due course.
What is the status of the over 200 individuals who have been arrested? Are they being processed for court?
Absolutely. Now, that number that was indicated today by the NIMOS Director of Operations actually adds to the total number of arrests that previously had been effected, from the start of NIMOS's operation, and indeed from the commencement of this government up to now. If we put all together, we have well over about 1,900 arrests that have been effected. All of the dockets of these suspects have been properly prepared, and prosecutions would begin in due course. The reason the prosecution hasn't begun is that it is the decided stance of government that all illegal mining-related offences would not go through the regular court system. For the purposes of expeditious discharge of these cases, we are setting up the specialized tribunals for that purpose. And so once they are set, all of these cases will be cleared.
And how is the task force collaborating with other agencies to address the challenge of armed illegal miners, which came up during this particular press conference?
It is very disturbing. First off, we have to put on record how the illegal miners have been able to acquire so many weapons. It's particularly disturbing because if you look at the record of the weapons that they possess, it clearly shows that there may be a gap or a crack in the system. Thankfully, the Interior Minister and the Interior Ministry have committed to helping resolve that particular matter. And so there are structures and mechanisms that have been put in place to ensure that, first of all, we are able to limit the proliferation of the weapons. Those ones that already have gone into wrong hands, the Interior Ministry is collaborating with NIMOS to ensure that we take them out, and then we ensure that weapons do not go into the hands of inappropriate persons, especially those in the mining sector and the Galamsey sites.
Right, Pakwesi Shandorf there. Thank you very much. He's the spokesperson of NIMOS there. You're still listening to Joy FM. here in Accra and also our numerous affiliates across the country. This is News Tonight. Share with us your thoughts on the stories that we've been sharing with you so far. What do you make of the resolution that was led by Ghana at the United Nations, which has now declared the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity? The WhatsApp number is 055 11 11 997. George Gyasi is here with the latest. George, what do you have for us?
It looks like there's some price war ongoing between Star and Star Oil, and it's not ending. It looks like Star Oil has gone down again. And it's dropping or selling a litre of petrol at 12 Ghana cedis, 19 pesos. If you look at last week, they've gone down by more than 30 pesos. So it looks like it's good for us consumers. Let them price it out.
Well, it's very good because
we shop around and see which one is cheap. So we drive to their service stations.
You are seeing fuel prices go up globally.
Yeah.
Australia, UK, the US, Nigeria.
Yeah.
So we are lucky that at least the two leading
competition could
OMCs, are battling it out.
Prices down. And also, members of the Monetary Policy Committee of Bank of Ghana expresses concerns about impact of the ongoing Middle East war on several sectors of the economy. The signals plan to cut the policy rate further if the situation improves. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. Synthestanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Mappe. Et mappe. Hey, Asamo. French idiot. This is a midi croissant.
Meet Jan. She makes sobolo in a small shop in Kaswa. She's going places with MTN Ejumapa. Now, she's learning French kakra to teach her francophone customers indigenous recipes.
Watashi no namae wa.
Watashi no na. My boy.
Whoa. She's learning Japanese too? What? If you're a woman with a small business, join MTN Ejumapa today by dialing *5060# and enjoy 150 megabytes data, a lifestyle bundle for social media, free MTN to MTN calls every Monday, and an insurance cover. You will also gain access to expert training, discounts on digital tools, and financial support to grow the business of your dreams. Terms and conditions apply. MTN.
When nations rise, it begins with bold conversations. When economies grow, it is driven by partnership. This April, Ghana's business and policy leaders converge at the Quo Business Forum 2026, the nation's premier platform for investment, enterprise, and economic transformation. With special guest of honor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, joining captains of industry, financial institutions, investors, and entrepreneurs.
The Quo Business Forum is more than just an event. It is a call to action. And so let us work together to build a Ghana that is competitive, productive, and inclusive, and a Ghana that creates opportunities for all.
Come, let's engage in high-level dialogue, explore industry exhibitions, build powerful networks, and unlock real opportunities from finance and insurance to manufacturing, agribusiness, SMEs, and innovation. This is where it all happens. From the 3rd to the 5th of April 2026 at the Quo Convention Center in Praeso Hills. Go to www.quobusinessforum.com and register now. To register for exhibitions, call 059 555 5885 or 059 555 5995. Quo Business Forum. Connect, promote, grow.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our Star Savers, we became number one. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, it's a very strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Sasso, sasso, e se come tonton precon. Sasso, sasso, e se come tonton precon. Edrana drumming, yeah, we say, yeah, how can see any malaria? Minya me corn, and miss a so spray. Every mosquito study run away. Come on, tonton precon. Sasso, sasso, mi se come tonton precon. Come tonton precon. Sasso, come tonton precon. Nani sham ne die demo strong kon.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Star Oil is signaling its intention of not ending the current price war anytime soon. Now, this is because the market leader of the oil marketing industry this morning moved to reduce the price of petrol by 4 pesos to 12 Ghana cedis, 19 pesos. It has also reduced a litre of diesel that is from 15 Ghana cedis, 57 pesos to 15 Ghana cedis, 49 pesos. The development showed that since last week, Star Oil has cut the price of a litre of petrol by some 30 pesos. Now, the move by Star is in reaction to the current price war with another major player in the industry, that is GOIL. Meanwhile, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers say it is looking forward to more cuts due to the fact that their quotes is still higher than the current price floor being sanctioned by the regulator. Duncan Amwa is the chief executive of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers.
What the market thrives on has to do with margins, and so that is what the market would be using to, as it were, pay for their utilities, pay for staff, pay for operational expenses. If you have OMCA that decides that, look, I'm not going to go for the full margin, I can operate without necessarily getting the full extent of margin, and so let me drop by some 10 or 20%, and I'll still be able to function. I do not see how that becomes a problem. The only caveat here is that we would expect these OMCs to be minded at all times by their numbers, because you cannot come take the applause from the public and then in the end only to find your books or your company collapse. So they should be minded.
Duncan Amwa is the executive secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. A former Chief Justice Akufo has expressed support for significant local participation in Ghana's mining sector, responding to questions on the takeover of Diamond Goldfields as well as the Azuma mines by a local mining firm, engineers and planners. Madam Akufo was confident that it will encourage more Ghanaian participation in the mining sector. She spoke at a press conference organized by the Institute of Economic Affairs today.
Any kind of legitimate local participation, hooray, thank God. I don't want to know who owns the company. The most important thing is that it is owned by Ghanaians, it is run by Ghanaians, it is a Ghanaian company, and it pays its taxes. What more would I want? Because it is Ghanaian, it's not going to run away somewhere. So let's have more Ghanaian companies coming into the pictures. And we can. There are many, many, many skilled, experienced Ghanaians at every level of whatever we need, from bringing up the mineral to processing it to adding value to it.
And that is the former Chief Justice, Madam Sofakuf. Meanwhile, the Institute has expressed concerns about the new mining and royalty regulations. They are also worried about the reduction in the growth and sustainability levy for the mining companies. They describe it as weaknesses in the efforts to maximize gains from the country's natural resources. Now, members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana have expressed serious concerns about the impact of the ongoing war in the Middle East on several sectors of the economy. This was captured in the decision document on how the various members voted during last week's meeting. There is more in this report.
Majority of the members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the bank were not only worried about inflation, but how this could affect other critical sectors of the economy. For instance, some of the members were indeed concerned about how the current crisis, if it does not end soon, could affect power generation in the country, utility tariffs, and cost of credit. It is for this reason that some of the members were for a marginal cut in the policy rate rather than pushing for a significant cut. Some of the members promised that they will move quickly to cut the policy rate further if the situation should normalize soon. The policy rate currently stands at 14% compared to an inflation rate of about 3.3%.
And that is a business desk report. Meanwhile, 4 members of the Monetary Policy Committee voted for a 150 basis point cut in the policy rate to 14%. Now, Glyco Pensions Trustees position itself as its Teachers Provident Fund to a scheme to boost retirement income, especially for educators, through its volunteer Tier 3 contribution. Speaking at the launch, Chief Executive Belinda Dede Tando says that the initiative seeks to address concerns of low retirement income. She notes that many workers rely on mandatory tiers, leaving the gaps in their future earnings.
Teachers are the bedrock of every society. Teachers are the innovators. Their sustenance is to eternity. Everybody has benefited from teachers. So what can we do as Glyco Pensions than to support them so that when it's time for retirement, they will go home smiling? With Glyco Pensions Teacher Provident Fund, there is a possibility to enhance your retirement. When you look at the total amount that you put into retirement, if you are able to join the Teachers Provident Fund scheme, where you are able to contribute 16.5% of your basic income into the scheme, you are assured that by the end of a period when you are going on pension, your pension benefits will be enhanced.
And that is the Chief Executive of Glyco Pension Trustee, Belinda Dede Tando. Let's turn our attention to the stock market, and some of the listed shares are still losing their value in terms of price quotes on the Ghana Stock Exchange. At the end of trading, we had more than 9 listed shares dropping their share price on today's market. That is, you saw companies like MTN going down by marginally, is now worth 5 Ghana cedis, 91 pesos. That is for the price of MTN, now worth going down by 59 pesos and is now worth 5 Ghana cedis, 91 pesos. That of Guel also went up by a peso and is now worth 7 Ghana cedis, 86 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Kenneth, for business. And the market is still making some good returns for investors.
Yeah.
95% actually, year-to-date performance.
Wow. I'll consider investing. Thank you very much, George.
Cash, you can invest some there.
I'll consider that. Let's do sports, and Benaya is here with the latest.
Well, George and Kenneth are investing. Senegal are also investing their energy into cars because the Senegal Football Federation has officially filed an appeal at the Court of Arbitration for Sports over CAF decision to strip them of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations title. Now, the ruling by CAF's appeals board came after Morocco appealed, citing a breach of tournament rules following Senegal's 17-minute walk-off during the final, despite the extra time winner from Pape Gueye sailing victory. Now, the Senegalese Football Federation called the decision unfair, unprecedented, and unacceptable. Now, according to the Director General, Matthew Rip, CAS is perfectly equipped to resolve this type of dispute with the assistance of experts and independent arbitrators. Now, he also added that they understand that teams and fans are eager to know the final decision, and they will ensure that the arbitration proceedings are conducted as swiftly as possible while respecting the rights of all parties to a fair hearing. Meanwhile, the CAF president, Patrice Motsepe, said they will respect and abide by the outcome of the legal process. So that's it with CAS and Senegal. We hope they come to a fair judgment.
I hope justice prevails.
Justice prevails.
Because I have never heard it anywhere ever that you can win a match after 3 months.
Then they give
Usually, I know that you win matches after extra time, 2 minutes extra time, 5 minutes extra time, maximum 9 minutes extra time.
So imagine,
thanks to CAF, we now know that you can win a match after 3 months. Wow.
Imagine you're a Morocco fan, you just be scrolling on your phone, then you see the news. Hey, we found the title.
I think there's hope for Ghana. You know, the 2010 World Cup that Suarez. Caught the ball.
Yeah, he prevented the ball from
There's hope for us. We could win it after how many years? 16 years.
Yeah. But they could also say we had our chance with the penalty and all that too.
But there was no VAR, but the ball crossed the line. Now that there's VAR,
they've made it open. We could all do whatever we want. So so let's see. All right, see you.
Thank you very much for bringing us the latest in sports, Benaya. And in more stories tonight, the Minister for Food and Agric, Eric Opoku, has announced that government is investing in the development of an improved tomato variety aimed at significantly boosting local production and reducing Ghana's reliance on imports. According to the minister, resources have been allocated to the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement to develop a variety expected to yield over 20 tons per hectare, a move he says is critical to addressing Ghana's estimated 300,000 tons deficit in tomato production. We can listen to the minister make that statement on the floor, but before we hear from him, we've also been hearing from the MPP MP for Ofinso North, Fred Asamoah Che, who made a statement on the issue, demanding urgent government intervention to bridge the gap created by the ban on tomato imports from neighboring Burkina Faso.
The district chief executive of Ofinso North, Caesar Ofosu Achampon, turned the spotlight on the district's protectors. The mission to personally honor officers of the police, immigration and fire services for what he calls their gallant sacrifices that led to a safer Christmas for all. The DC offered food items ranging from rice, oils and other items to appreciate the efforts of the men in uniform.
You know, it's not easy to take care of a district like ours.
We apologize for the wrong sound, but the Food and Agriculture Minister assured Parliament that government is on top of the situation, outlining plans to boost local production and safeguard the country's food security.
We have a gap of approximately 300,000 metric tons to close before we can attain sufficiency in tomato production in Ghana. But we have to understand, we have to have a better appreciation of the challenge, the root cause of it, before we can prefer the appropriate solution to deal with it. While our counterparts in Burkina Faso are doing 18 tons per hectare, we are doing 8 tons. So what is the problem? The problem is the seed, the variety that is used in the production of tomatoes. And so we have decided, and this morning we had a meeting with WACI of Legon and some of the research institutions, and they have given us the assurance that they can give us a variety that can give us more than 20 tons per hectare. Yeah. More than 20 tons per hectare. So we are asking, we are committing them, we have made some resources available to ensure that we develop that variety to bring a lasting solution to the problem.
Right. He also added that the government is targeting the reduction of post-harvest losses, currently estimated at about 30%, as a key strategy to improve supply and stabilize the tomato value chain.
And the second challenge has to do with management of post-harvest losses. Because in that case, post-harvest losses alone constitute 30% of our produce. So we are reporting total production of 510,000 tons. Total production. 30% have gone waste already. So when you add that 30%, we are bringing on board additional 153,000 tons. So if we are able to eliminate post-harvest losses alone, we are adding onto our production 153,000 tons of tomato. That reduces the gap from 300 to 140,000. Mr. Speaker, what are we doing to contain the situation? On assumption of office, after we have diagnosed the challenges, ascertained the root causes of the situation, we decided to launch a program called Vegetable Development Project, popularly known as Yeridua. This project was launched somewhere in June, July last year. Mr. Speaker, the project is anchored on 3 pillars. 1 is seed, 1 is seed, and then 2 is irrigation, and 3 is market.
So, Dr. Isaac Yaopoku is the ranking member on the Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs Committee of Parliament. He joins us now on the phone line. Doc, you heard the minister. Do these measures he has announced tackle the immediate deficit created by the ban in Burkina Faso?
Yes, my minister, you can talk. So we're just talking. Just listen. They launched the Vegetable Development Project back in June, July last year. And tomato, it takes just 2 to 3 months to mature. So how come we are experiencing deficits? If indeed they launched the Yeridua in June, July, why is he talking about deficit today? You see, and he's also saying that, unfortunately, I wasn't in the chamber this morning. I attended a meeting somewhere, personal, so I didn't get the opportunity to comment. First of all, make such a statement. At least you should make the Committee on Food, Agri and Cocoa Affairs be aware, so that we'll make ourselves available for comments, But coming back to the issue, why is it that Ghana is relying on Burkina Faso for our tomato supply? Why? I am surprised. I thought this government was resetting, and if indeed they did launch the Yeridua in June, you said June, July. I don't know which is which, because launching it takes only a day to launch. So it cannot be June, July. It cannot be. So it should be specific. But let's even take the upper limit. Assuming that the launching was done in July, we are in March. We are in March now. And tomato takes just 3 months maximum. 2 to 3 months to mature. So we should be harvesting. We should be talking about self-sufficiency today.
Dr. Isaac Yao Opoku, thank you so much. That's all time will allow us. He's the ranking member on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs Committee of Parliament.
And Gemma, before we go, though, there's an interesting story by the founder and apostle general of Royal House Chapel International, Sam Kranchi Ankra, who's urging 35-year-old single men to take the plunge and marry, saying it's time to unlock the sperm build around their waist. He believes waiting for financial stability is no excuse, and it's encouraging men to propose and build families. We can listen to an excerpt from his sermon that has social media on fire.
You marry by faith. You are 35, 36 years. All your waist is locked because the sperms are collected in your waist. And as a young man, you are not walking right. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Get up and propose to a woman here and marry. Can't you see that my women are growing old? Can't you see? Foolish boys. Somebody said faith. When we went to our council meeting, and then the resident pastor was reporting on marriages that happened in the year 2025. Out of about 50 marriages that were blessed over here, 25 were coming from outside. Only 25 from this big auditorium or your dome. 25 marriages. What nonsense are you? Foolish boys. Rise up and marry. No babul no fear. Apostle Jonah married at the age of 26. I didn't have money. I didn't have nothing. One trouser, one shirt. I'm moved by faith. See where faith has brought me to. If you are a young woman and you are not married, rise up and greet any man and say, can't you see that I am here?
Let the church say amen.
Amen.
A very powerful sermon, I would say. That's it for News Night, though. But before we go, do not forget to do the two. Before you go to bed tonight, remember to brush your teeth with Pepsodent. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Right after News Night, a strong and sassy and Akofa is here, looking all strong and sassy. What do you have for us this evening?
Thank you so much, Kenneth. So this evening, there's been a conversation about women when they help their partners. I beg your pardon, when they help their partners, they're always reminding them of the help they've given them in the past. And so as women, we're going to open the conversation up. We're dissecting it on the show today, so you don't want to miss out on that.
It should